There's the awkward laugh.
That's endearing to me, though. That's endearing to me. When he says something like that, I always try to remind myself there is a human being there. He hates both of our guts because we have been highly critical of him, but I don't mind that.
Yeah, but I don't. I totally disagree with you on that.
I know you do.
Because inherent in that comment is I'm getting castigated for the wrong reasons. There's a martyrdom syndrome there in that comment. Like, I'm everybody's scapegoat. People are upset at me and killing me, and I don't deserve it.
Well, if you were believed that you were like 50% of a problem and you were getting 95% of the blame, you'd probably feel the same way. I'm sure he believes like it's maybe 50% on me or whatever it is, and then it's 50% on the players. Even though he won't ever throw his quarterback really under the bus publicly or his line or anything else, I don't think he thinks he's the full problem here.
But he should, based on your logic of if Kenny gets blame because he wanted Canada back, Canada has to get blamed because this is, in some ways, the hand-picked quarterback that he wanted. He wanted Pickett as his guy.
Is it his fault, though, if like Deontay drops the first pass of the game, if Kenny, who gave a tortured Ben-esque explanation for the goal line miss, if they don't connect on that? Like, some of the players have said we've got to execute better, so either they are just doing the best job of towing the company line in history, or they actually think this guy isn't calling complete garbage all the time.
Well, is that how you feel?
I think he's calling, let's say, what would you give his play calling grade-wise, letter grade?
F?
I think his play calling is probably a D-, but that isn't an F.
You called him literally the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL yesterday.
And he might have the worst starting quarterback in the NFL.
Really?
He might.
The absolute worst?
He might.
So Josh Dobbs is better than Kenny Pickett?
He might be.
Come on, Chris.
He can run. 11 total touchdowns this year. Granted, he has 13 turnovers.
Then why did you come on the air last Monday and say
because he played a good fourth quarter? He did, but then he followed it up with nothing. Being good in the NFL means being good week to week, series to series, play to play.
But if you're the worst quarterback in the league, you're not even capable when the game's on the line of making big plays. You suck in all situations. You're the suckiest of all season, in all seasons, in all conditions. It doesn't matter. You legitimately think Pickett's the worst quarterback in the league?
I think he is a bottom 3 or 4
So you watched Jimmy Garoppolo last night and think he might be better than that Kenny might be worse than him?
Might be.
Seriously.
Might be. He's bottom 3 or 4 right now in the league. Canada's probably bottom 1. That ain't much better, though. I think way more people, by the way, in like kind of the collective here, if we just put that statement out to like all football fans in the country, would be more aligned with me than you.
That he's might be the worst quarterback in the entire league?
That he is a bottom 3 or 4 starter in the league. I think way more people would agree with me than you.
So Desmond Ridder might be better. Matt Jones might be better.
You might be naming 2 of the guys who are down there with him in the pit.
Jordan Love might be better than him.
Those could be the 3. I said bottom 3 or 4.
You originally said he might be the worst.
I didn't. I said he might be. I never said he definitely was.
Okay, but he's in the discussion for worst quarterback in the NFL.
What are we doing here? Parsing the difference between worst and like third worst?
Yes, we are, as a matter of fact, because that's a bold statement to say that somebody's that bad that they're up. If you say a guy is in the MVP conversation, that's saying he's possibly the best player in the entire NFL.
Sure.
You're saying this guy among 32 starting quarterbacks might be 32.
Might be. Could be about 28 or 29.
Even though his fourth quarter stats and what he's able to do in those situations are better than guys like Patrick Mahomes.
How long are football games?
Okay, I get it, 60 minutes, but for 15, he's elite. You can't be the worst player at your position when you are great at something for a quarter of the game, and it just so happens to be the best quarter. If he had the best second quarter stats of any quarterback in the NFL, well, then I wouldn't put as much importance on it. But it's when the game is on the line.
His passer rating goes 43 in the first quarter, 79 in the second, 92. Actually, 93, I'll even round up a decimal for him, and then 103. So he's really a second-half quarterback, but I can't ignore how atrocious the first half is.
Yeah, but you can't undermine or marginalize what he does in the second half enough to say he might be the worst quarterback in the NFL? Or starting quarterback in the league? Come on, Chris.
Not too many guys that I would put behind him. There just aren't.
Stunned by that, though.
Why?
Because...
Why? He's not been very good. They are a miraculous 4-3.
Time out. If he's the worst quarterback in the NFL...
Worst 3 or 4, which is what I actually said.
Okay, if he's in the conversation for the worst quarterback in the league, then you should be looking at all of the quarterbacks in college right now.
I am.
And hoping and praying that the Steelers do something radical and draft one of those guys.
I'm not hoping and praying because it's completely beyond the pale of what they're capable of.
But you're saying that's what they should do?
If they have available to them a guy that has a legit first-round grade in a year where there might be 6 or 7 of those guys, yes, they should. You shouldn't just keep sinking resources into seeing if a guy is legit or not if he has given you a decent body of evidence to this point that he's not.
So they play the wrong running back. They have the worst, maybe one of the worst
starting quarterbacks in the league, which is true. You keep wanting to harp on worst because there are a couple guys down there in the pit with him, but one of the worst is no exaggeration. His numbers are what they are. He's got an 80 passer rating.
Sure.
That's not good. His QBR, which, by the way, is supposed to factor in, like, clutch performances, is almost 20 points lower than it was last year.
Okay.
It's a 35. He's completing fewer passes percentage-wise than he did last year. He's got longer touchdowns, but he's got 5 total on the year.
But this gets back to what I argued with you about yesterday. If you think he might be the worst quarterback, then there's no coming back from that, really. You think he's cooked? You think he's fried?
I don't think he's going to be an above-average passer ever.
So you think he sucks?
I don't think he's a good NFL quarterback,
Well, why don't you just say that you think he sucks then?
Because you want me to say sucks because it's a nice trendy sound.
Well, if you think he might be 32 or 32, then he sucks. He's in Jamarcus Russell
I think more
territory.
often than not, Kenny Pickett sucks.
Zach Wilson
I think for 2/3 to 3/4 of most games, Kenny Pickett sucks. Just like the offense sucks.
Okay, but again, you put the qualifier on it of now you're valuing the fourth quarter again when 5 minutes ago you said you're not caring about those stats.
No, I mean, the stats matter. They would be 2-4 probably, or no, I'm sorry, 2-5 without him making some big plays against the Rams and then one big drive against the Ravens where he admittedly did well, and I gave him credit for that. The rest of the season's been mostly crap. Sucked against the Niners, mostly sucked with the exception of one play against the Browns. Hit a huge one to Pickens where Pickens ran after the catch. Great throw, stood in against the pressure.
Okay.
Was pretty good against the Raiders. Outplayed Jimmy G and his incompetent coach. Horrible against the Texans.
Yep.
Beyond horrible. Horrible for 57 minutes against the Ravens. And by the grace of dropped passes and a Joey Porter Jr. interception, one horrible Lamar throw, had a chance to win it, and to his credit, did. Really not good at all. They had 110 yards of offense through 3 quarters against the Rams. His touchdown drive was 7 yards. And then he turned it on like they all did, and I gave them credit for it. Not good, in my opinion. I know PFF disagrees with me. They loved him, not loved him, but they liked him against the Jags. Not good enough. Missed a wide-open throw in the end zone, tortured explanation, victimized by some drops, but really at no point ever looked like he was anything close to Trevor Lawrence's equal.
Okay, Trevor Lawrence
or even frankly in the ballpark with Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence scored 20 and had a horrendous interception. I mean, it's not like the guy played an A-plus game. I would agree that Lawrence was the better quarterback before Kenny got hurt. I would agree with that, but not by a ton.
At what point, though?
Not by a lot.
So let me ask you this. Titans, Packers, who have in Levis a guy who's already doubled Kenny's max touchdown output in a game.
So wait a minute, would you say right now there's a better chance Will Levis is a good NFL quarterback than Kenny Pickett?
Given that there's one game of Will Levis as a starter and he threw 4 touchdowns, I would say the book is much further open on him.
Because of one game?
We've seen a season's worth of data on Kenny Pickett. A season's worth of starts, none of which have included even 3, let alone 4 touchdown passes in one football game.
I understand that, but the guy's in a different offense with different players.
What, you think Tennessee's offense is good?
He's got Derrick Henry.
They're averaging 19 points a game. And that number only got up to that point because he scored 28.
Because Ryan Tannehill blows.
The previous 2 games, they combined for 32 points, did the Titans. And then they scored 28 last time out.
Levis had a whale of a game. It's a great first impression. But one game in now, you're saying you think he's better than a dude that won games on the final drive at the end of the season to help keep their playoff hopes alive, that four touchdowns.
The Titans have scored 19 more points on the season than have the Steelers.
He threw for 230 yards in the game. That's not like when
he made 2 throws in that game. Well, one throw especially. I don't think Pickett is even capable of making.
But when Kenny throws for 230 yards, you scoff at that. So it's not like he had some huge game.
Show me the 4 touchdown game. Points
he doesn't
matter.
have one yet.
Show me the 4 touchdown game, and maybe we'll stop doing this. Maybe we'll stop going around on the merry-go-round when he throws for 250 and 4.
But I've given up the extreme take that I think he's going to be a great quarterback and have a great year. I've admitted how dumb that sounds and how asinine that point was. But now you've gone in the complete other direction where you think the guy's possibly the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Pony, how dumb is it when his passer rating is barely out of the 70s?
Why do you keep going back to passer rating?
I mean, then what do we measure these guys on? Tell me what we should measure them on.
You take it all into account. You put it all into the soup, and you figure out what a guy is.
His QBR, just among 32 starters, a qualifier, so Levis doesn't even count here, is 35.5. That puts him barely ahead of the following 3 people: Garoppolo, Bryce Young, and Ryan Tannehill.
Okay.
Just behind Zach Wilson. Let's go with passer rating, the traditional one. He is 26th in the league. Again, ahead of Garoppolo, Zach Wilson, Tannehill, Danny Dimes, and Love. And barely at that.
But you've admitted that he has the worst coordinator in the league, a terrible offensive line, and they play the wrong running back. And the coach doesn't help him because he basically puts a restrictor plate on his quarterbacks and says, don't F up. All 4 of those things are true.
Successful passing rate. He's 29th of 31 qualifiers. These are all just sorting stats. One of the things I wonder about with him is if he was cut loose to throw the ball down the field, which I do think is a problem. I think there's a mental restrictor plate on the guy because of the head coach's tendency to say, let's just win close and ugly. Don't turn the ball over. I kind of want to see what would happen if he was cutting it loose regularly and making riskier throws. Because then we might see the interceptions creep up.
But maybe you see the yards and touchdowns go up.
Maybe you do.
Well, then the jury's still out on him.
But I would bet, based on what we have seen, that it's more likely the interceptions go up.